Do you always know that an idea is a good one when the leadership doesn't only not like it, but, and this is the telltale sign, also doesn't want backbenchers to talk about it? No party leader worries too much about backbenchers on a frolic of their own when it's a bad idea that can quickly get talked down. It's when the idea belongs to the other side, like Barnaby Joyce's call for the dole to be increased, or when the idea should belong to your own side but doesn't, like not further increasing the compulsory super levy, that the leadership really gets edgy. Good on the backbenchers, I say, who this week have been calling on the government not to increase the superannuation levy from 9.5% to 12%. It's wrong policy at the wrong time and will do nothing to give workers a decent and long overdue increase in what they're paid today. Now, in philosophical terms, it makes no sense for the Liberal Party to want to force employers to pay an extra 2.5% of every employee's wage into compulsory super, when the Liberal Party is the party of small business, not big business, when the Liberal Party is the party of freedom, not coercion, when the Liberal Party is the party of higher, not lower wages, and especially when this is a policy born of Labor, not the Liberal Party, and designed to build the power of union-controlled industry super funds, which to date it has. Compulsory super was originally an offshoot of the Hawke-Keating Accord, designed to take the heat out of wage rises at a time when unemployment was high and business confidence was fragile. And from a big brother, big government point of view, what was there not to like about compulsory super? Workers, well, they got paid less today, and the government got to pay them less of a pension when they retired. What's more, because union-controlled funds were built in as a default option under most awards and agreements on the back of the workers' super payments, it was a nice little honeypot for union officials. And over time, as union super funds invested in large public companies, which they have, the weight of their investments would give them clout, which it has, and it would end up neutering the big company's natural tendency to support the pro-business side of politics against the pro-union one, which of course it has. Over the past 25 years, compulsory super has gone from 3 to 9.5% of wages, and it's produced one of the world's biggest money pools. Australian superannuation funds of one sort or another now hold $2.8 trillion in assets, which amounts to almost double Australia's annual GDP that's now held in superannuation. 2 and a bit decades on, how do we measure the success or otherwise of this complex and highly regulated policy area? Despite the original intent, there's been no reduction in pension dependence. About 80% of retirees still get the pension. It's just that slightly more of them get a part pension rather than a full one, as most people's compulsory super contribution is still insufficient to give them a full living income. And more, governments have changed the rules to raid the nation's super when they get into a tight fiscal corner, and both sides have done it. Under Labor, Kevin Rudd, and then the Liberals under Malcolm Turnbull. The one definite outcome of compulsory super is that wages are now 9.5% lower than they would otherwise have been, because your boss is paying your 9.5% not to you now, but to a super fund on your behalf for the future. From the start of this parliamentary week right through to the end of it today, there's been growing voices inside the coalition calling for a rethink on super. Some of them want wholesale changes, like no longer making it compulsory. Others just want some common sense from the ministers and the PM and want to see the level of super stay at 9.5% so that workers can get a real increase to their wages today rather than see it lifted again, super, to 12%. Josh Frydenberg, the Treasurer, has talked about an inquiry into super and retirement incomes. But I have to say, Josh Frydenberg, what's the point of all of this if the government's already committed to increasing the money we lose to 12%? In 2016, Turnbull's changes to superannuation cost him a lot of political skin. Scott Morrison, never forget, well, he was the Treasurer at that time. He doesn't need to repeat Malcolm Turnbull's error again.